He was walking home through the snow when he heard something moving in the field. A crane caught in a trap, one wing beating against the frozen ground. He was a poor man, and the bird was worth money. He opened the trap anyway. It rose, circled him once, and was gone into the white. That night, a woman knocked at his door and asked to be let in out of the cold. She stayed. She became his wife. And she asked him for one thing only. There is a room in this house where I will work. While I am working, do not open that door. Do not look at me. For as long as she wove, he stayed away from it. This is the story of the crane wife and of the night he opened the door.
Before the story, 3 things a Japanese house takes for granted. In a house like his, there is no lock anywhere. The door to the back room is a wooden frame with paper stretched over it, and it slides. One finger opens it. So when his wife asks him not to open that door, she is not asking him to respect the lock. The promise is the lock. It is the only one in the building. The loom in that room is not a hobby either. A woman at a loom was making the household's money. Cloth was wealth you could roll up and carry, and one length of fine cloth could be worth more than a poor man earned in a year. So when you hear that she can weave, hear that she can save them. And the bird. Many of the cranes that winter in Japan are visitors. They come down out of the north with the cold, and when the winter ends, they go north again. Remember that. In this story, she does it twice. This story is not from the chronicles. It comes from the villages, carried by voice long before anyone wrote it down. No one knows who told it first, and the versions collected across Japan do not all agree with one another. And the version that shaped how this story is remembered in Japan today is not a folktale at all. I will come back to that at the end. I am a Japanese storyteller, and I return to the Japanese sources to bring their words and their world into English, with some moments dramatized for a modern audience. The young man lived alone at the edge of a village, in a house that had been his parents'. His field was too small to feed him, and his firewood never lasted the winter. The snare in the field was not his, and it took him a long time to get the bird out of it, because a frightened crane is taller than you think and does not understand that you are helping. When it finally went up, it did not fly straight away. It came around once, low over his head, close enough that he felt the air move. Then it went north, and the snow closed over it. The knock came after dark. A woman stood outside with snow in her hair and nothing in her hands. No bundle, no sandals fit for that road. She asked for one night out of the weather. He told her the truth. There was no rice in the house, no oil for a lamp, and the roof leaked over half the floor. She said that was fine and stepped in, and the room was warmer for it. In the morning she had swept the floor and mended the door. She did not leave the next day or the day after. On the 4th day, she asked him to take her as his wife. He said he had nothing to give her. She said she had not asked him what he had. They were happy, and they were hungry. By midwinter, there was nothing left in the house to sell, and the snow was still coming. His mother's loom stood in the back room, unused for years. "I can weave," his wife said. "Buy nothing, ask nothing, only, while I am at the loom, do not open the door and do not look in at me. Promise me that." He promised. It seemed a small thing to be asked. She went into the back room, and the loom started, and it did not stop. 1 day, 2 days,
She did not come out to eat. She did not come out to drink. There was no sound in the whole house but the beat of the loom, and at night he lay listening to it, the way you listen to someone else's breathing. On the evening of the third day, the loom stopped, and she came out, and she was thinner than she had been. In her arms was a bolt of cloth. He knew the cloth of a poorhouse, hemp, coarse and gray. This was white and light enough to move when he breathed on it, and warm in a way that snow is never warm. He carried it down into town. The merchant unrolled a hand's width of it and stopped talking. Then he named a price that would keep 2 people alive for a year. He asked where it had come from. The young man found that he did not want to answer and did not know why.
News of growth like that does not stay quiet. Before the snow was gone, the merchant sent word. A wealthy household wanted another boat and would pay 3 times the price of the first. He carried that message home up the hill, telling himself the whole way that he was not asking for himself. They could mend the roof. They could eat something other than millet. They could stop being afraid of the winter. His wife listened and said nothing for a while. Then, one more, and the rule is the same. The second weaving was not like the first. It went slower. The loom would run and stop, and there would be a long silence, and then it would start again. 4 days. 5. She did not come out at all. On the 5th night, he sat down outside the door in the dark and listened, and under the sound of the loom, there was something else, a small dry sound over and over that he could not put a name to. What finally moved him was not greed, and it was not curiosity. It was the thought that she was dying in that room and that he was sitting outside it, keeping a promise while it happened. He put his hand on the frame and slid it open. There was no woman in the room. A crane stood at the loom. She was thin, and her white was thin with her. The wings uneven, pale gaps where the feathers should have been. As he watched, she turned her head and worked one of her own feathers into the cloth. The white on the loom was her. She stopped. She turned and looked at him with one gold eye, and for a moment, neither of them moved, and the door stood open between them, and there was no way to close it again. When she spoke, it was his wife's voice. "I am the crane you took out of the trap. I came to pay what I owed you. It was all I had to give. And now you have seen me, so I cannot stay." He said the only things he could think of, that he did not want the cloth, that he would never ask again, that she could leave the loom and simply live here with him, and nothing else would ever be required of her. "It was never the cloth that kept me here," she said. "It was the door." She lifted the unfinished cloth off the loom, folded it once, and set it down on the floor between them. Then she went out into the yard. The wings that opened in the snow were thin and uneven, and it took her a moment to get up. She circled the house 3 times, low, close enough that he felt the air move. Then she went north, and the sky closed over her. He lived a long life after that, in a house with money in it, and one room he never went into again. 3 things about this story that you only see from inside Japan. First, the title. In English, you would call this a story about gratitude. That is not quite the word. The Japanese word is on, spelled O-N. It means a kindness you have received, and it is usually felt as a debt. Ongaishi, the returning of an on, is more than a spoken thank you, and it is not quite a payment either. It is answering what you were given. So when the crane comes to the door, she has not come to be kind. She has come to answer something. And the story is honest about what answering it cost her. She pays with what she's made of, and when the debt is answered, there is nothing left holding her here. Second, the version that shaped this story in Japan is not a folktale. In 1949, the playwright Kinoshita Junji turned it into a play, Yuzuru, Twilight Crane. One actress, Yamamoto Yasue, played the crane in it 1,037 times over 37 years until 1986. A great deal of the modern image of the crane wife comes from that stage. The folktale underneath it is older and quieter, and its versions disagree with each other. In some, the husband opens the door out of curiosity. In some, out of suspicion. In some, because he wants more cloth. In the version I have told you, he opens it because he's afraid she's dying, and so there is no villain in it at all. Third, do not look. That rule is much older than the crane. One of the oldest written forms of it in Japan is in the Kojiki, our oldest surviving chronicle, completed in 712. The daughter of the sea god is about to give birth. She asks her husband not to watch her. He watches and sees what she really is. She leaves and seals the road between the sea and the land behind her. From that chronicle to Kinoshita's play, more than 12 centuries separate the two written texts. The shape does not change. In our stories, the bride from the other world never turns into an ordinary human wife. Looking does not break a spell. It ends a marriage. Next time, a blind musician is asked to play for a great house he cannot see. To save him, a priest writes a holy text across every inch of his body and forgets his ears. If you want these stories the way Japan tells them, subscribe.